listening to, I say you are listening to, you are absolutely listening to the George Espinlove Show, coming to you live from the Funny Farm. Now, with no further ado, here comes Georgie!
Thank you. Thank you. I applaud you for applauding me. Thank you so very, very much. And here it is, Monday. And what a way to kick off the week. We have as our guest tonight Karen Kondazian, and she'll be with us in just a few moments. But to all of our friends down the street, around the corner, across this great nation, and around the world, welcome to the George Espinlove Show. We are delighted that you've decided to tune in and spend some time with us. Wow, you're wound up and it's only Monday. What's it going to be like as we move further into the week? Exciting, I know that much. We have an incredible lineup of guests coming up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Tomorrow night, we will have Merva from Down Under. She'll be with us live from Australia, a young lady who is a singer and a songwriter. She will be sharing with us her passion for music, her goals, her aspirations, and we're going to have a good time tomorrow night with Merva from Down Under in Australia. So tune in tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the Spreaker Network. With no further ado, as Charlie always says, and Charlie is over there running the board for me with his hat on backwards, and he is just, I can't describe the look that he has tonight. It's just that, what's the look? It's just that I am the one. You know what I'm saying? That's how Charlie looks tonight. He is the one, and he is the one. With no further ado, as Charlie always says, let's bring on Karen Kondazian. Karen, welcome to the George Espinlove Show.
Thank you, George. Delighted to be here.
And how are things where you are?
Well, I live in Los Angeles, but right now I'm in Carmel Valley, California. Y'all know where that is?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right by Monterey and Santa Cruz. In fact, it's the whole route, part of the route that my character in my book took.
You have had quite a life. Could you give us a little bit about your background?
Well, let's see. I guess I started out at 8 years old. I was one of those obnoxious children on the Art Linkletter show. You know, kids say the darndest thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was chosen to be one of those children, and I had wanted to be a spy, but suddenly I got to see that I missed school and got all the free grilled cheese sandwiches and orange sherbet I wanted, and so I announced on the air I wanted to be an actress, because I said, oh my God, you know, miss school and grilled cheese sandwiches? I mean, that's the life for me. And strange thing is, Art Linkletter said, oh yeah, right, okay, good luck. And do you know that I never wavered? I found the thing in my heart that I wanted. And so I was very fortunate to go to school in England. I went to the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Arts and became a member of the Actors Studio. And a lot of my dreams, you know, in terms of training and teachers. And then I went to New York and did some extraordinary plays I was lucky to get. And And then went to L.A., and I've been doing a lot of television, playing gypsies and psychics and Italian moms. And then I started writing, and let me see. The book was, The Whip was, I started it. It took me 6 years and 27 drafts. So I've been writing. It's been about 7 years ago, and so I started writing, and now I found another love. So that's kind of my life. I mean, I've had some interesting men in my life. I was dating King Hussein of Jordan when I was in England, and my fiancé was Lex Barker, you know, who was Tarzan in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
He was much older than me and dropped dead when we were together. But anyway, yeah, I've been very blessed to have fascinating adventures in my life.
Have you ever looked back and said, wow, I wished I could have been a spy?
You know, it's really funny because I've always wanted to play one, you know, in the movies or in the theater, and I never have. I don't know. I think that was, my mommy took me too many spy movies. I think that's what it was. I don't think it's probably the life anybody would fancy. It's not quite like the movies, I think.
You know, and I shared this with you before we went on the air. I'm a very avid reader. I'll read anything. If I can't find anything to read, I'll look for something to read anyhow. But nonetheless, your book, The Whip, is one of the best books that I have ever read in my entire life.
God, I told you, it gives me goosebumps. You have no idea. It means so much. Anybody who's a writer out there, you know, knows what I'm talking about. Because it's like having a child and somebody looking down into the crib saying, that is the most beautiful child I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
No? It's like that. Thank you, George. It means a lot. You know, I started to ask you and then we didn't have time. It was the story? It was the character? I'm interested, you know, what was it about the book that you could, if you were going to tell somebody?
It was the moment that I began to read it. In fact, the moment that I saw the book itself in the front cover, I thought, wow, this is going to be a doozy.
You mean the cover?
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I began to read it, it captivated me in such a way that I could hear the sounds, smell the smells, see the characters, and you know, sometimes when you're watching something on television, you're trying to get ahead of it and try to figure things out.
Yes.
This was one of those times that I just got into it and stayed right with it and went where it went without trying to figure out what the next move was, what the next step was, so on and so forth. And it captivated me that I couldn't put it down.
Oh, I love that. Wow, that's the dream of every writer, that you say those words, and particularly that you can't put it down. I guess they call that a page turner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it's interesting. I think I'm going to tell you a little secret for the writers again who are listening. If you notice, I make little short chapters. I mean, they're 2 pages, some are even 1, 2, 3 pages. I think 4 pages is the longest. Part of, I think, you know, holding the reader, other than, of course, the story and the characters, is, you know, these little short chapters, because it's like eating popcorn, you know.
Right.
You know, I finished 1 chapter, and it's like, oh, I can do another one, and suddenly, you know, you've read 10 chapters. And so that, and it makes a momentum in the book, a speed, a rhythm. But I love that you said that. I don't want to spoil anything, but which was your favorite character? Who would you like to have been in it? I always ask that question to men particularly.
I would have liked to have been Charlie.
Oh yes, so good for you.
Yeah,
I like that answer.
Yeah, I would.
Most of the men answer, one of the guys.
No, I would have. I would have loved to have been Charlie.
She had it both ways, huh?
I'm telling you, but it was, when you read about Charlie, when Charlie was the girl, Charlie was the girl.
Yeah, but see, I bet people don't know. Should I tell the little synopsis of it, and then we can talk about it?
Sure.
Or not? Because everybody's going like, "Wonder what this book is,"
Sure.
So should I do that? You want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, it's called The Whip, and whips were stagecoach drivers in the old West. They were the rock stars of their time, in fact. And this is based on a true story of a woman. Her name was Charlotte Charlie Parkhurst, and she was born in 1812. She died in 1879, and she was a famous stagecoach driver for Wells Fargo. She lived her life, well, most of her life, 30 years of her life, as a man during the gold rush in California, and she was the first woman to vote in America as a man. She killed the famous outlaw Sugarfoot, who robbed his stagecoach one too many times. I don't want to give away any of the story, but I am going to say that a horrible thing happened to her. Her family was destroyed, so she put on men's clothes and went from Boston to California on a ship, which was no easy thing at that time, and went to California, became a famous stagecoach driver, and then we won't tell you whether or not she finds the killer. That's up to you to read the book and find out.
That's right.
She was an amazing person, and she's buried in a place called Watsonville, California, which, by the way, is about 15 miles from where I am now, in the Odd Fellows Cemetery, which some of you people might know was a famous charity group, particularly at that time, the Odd Fellows. And she was such a great guy and helped so many people that they asked her to join, which was a very hard thing to become a member of. So when she died, they were getting her ready for her funeral, and they went, "Oh my God, the great Charlie Parkhurst is a woman and has had a child." That they did like an autopsy on her, and so doctors came from San Francisco all over to check her out because she was so famous. And then the Oddfellows said, "Well, it doesn't matter that she's a woman. We're going to bury her in our cemetery," and they did. So it's kind of this fascinating woman who, George, the thing is in those days, as you read, women could have no dreams. Only men could have dreams. Mm-hmm. Women had about 2 choices, maybe 3, being a wife, a prostitute, and if you had some education, which not all of them did, and you could read, you could teach a little bit. That was it.
That wasn't much, was it?
That wasn't much. Those are not very exciting dreams. Men were the ones, they just left their families all over the United States. It was like going to Las Vegas during the gold rush. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, they'll get a fortune and come home and it'll change their lives. Well, a lot of them just died in California. It was such a rough life, and some of them did make a little money and had a second family and never went home. But men could do. They could. The lovely thing about being a man at that time, it was a terrible time too. There was violence and sickness, and you could get shot or you could die of a cold. Mm-hmm. But I was going to say the lovely thing is that you could reinvent yourself. What I mean by that is, let's just say you weren't having a good time in one city and people didn't like you or something for some reason. You move on to another city and you totally reinvent yourself.
When Charlie was a woman, Charlie was a woman. When Charlie was a man, Charlie was a man. Does that make sense?
To me, it does.
Yeah.
Does it make sense to the listeners, you think?
If they get the book, it will.
Yeah.
Tell us, Karen, where can they get the book at?
It's on Amazon.com. It's also on BarnesandNoble.com. And then, there's an audio book for people who, some people, I have a friend who loves to read, but he says, every time he reads, he falls asleep. And so there's an audio book. And for those of you who watch Deadwood on HBO, the woman who played Calamity Jane, Robin Weickert, was the narrator of the book. And she's wonderful. She's just spectacular. In fact, she was at Sundance, and she just won the breakout performance of the year there in a movie called Concussion. And she's going all over now, Berlin Film Festival and stuff like that because of it. But anyway, the audiobook is wonderful too, and that's on audible.com. audible.com. I don't know if you know that. That's where all those wonderful audiobooks are.
Audiobooks.
And yeah, and also you can become a member, and I think you can even get the book for free if you join. I think they give you a free book or so. But anyway, that's how you get it. And I hope people, read it, and I hope they enjoy it as much as you do.
Let me throw this in. Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen, and whoever else may be listening to us, get the book. Trust me. You that have been hanging out with me for quite some time know that I get pretty excited about certain things and not so much excited about other things. This is one of those things I get excited about. The Whip. Please get the book. I'll guarantee you get the book, you won't be able to get your nose out of it until you're done. And you will be telling people, everyone around you will be telling them about the book called The Whip. So get it. The other thing is, if you have any questions or comments for Karen, give us a call, 302-497-3414. That's 302-497-3414. And this is your opportunity to ask Karen any questions, or you can leave us some comments. Karen, how did you find Charlotte Charlie Parkhurst?
A really funny way. I was in my 20s, which is a while ago, and I was reading a magazine called Cosmopolitan Magazine, that magazine on how to find a man.
Uh-huh.
And there was this wonderful article about women of the Wild West, wild women of the Old West. And one of the parts of it was about Charlie Parkhurst. I thought, how in God's name would a woman hide herself? How would she disguise herself? I mean, she has no beard, no Adam's apple. I mean, excuse me, but, those macho stagecoach drivers even peed together,
Mm-hmm.
How did she carry this off? And so I used to think about it, and I thought about it, and then one day I sat down and I kind of scribbled out a screenplay of it a long time ago, about 20 years ago. And it did get a famous agency called the William Morris Agency took it on, and a Canadian producer named Kevin Sullivan optioned it. And at that time there was no cable, so CBS was not too interested in cross-dressing. And so it passed and nothing happened, and I put it back in the suitcase, in a trunk. And then all of a sudden my mama passed away, and, I had a lot of feelings, and I wanted to dedicate something to her and to my dad. So I started writing the book. And it took me, as I mentioned, 6 years and 27 drafts to do it. And I was able to use a lot of my feelings in the book about the loss of my parents, because I don't have a family,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have brothers and sisters or children or husband.
Mm-hmm.
and not even hardly any cousins. So it was like, okay, I'm doing for the whole world. They're my family. I'm going to give this present to them. If God willing, it turns into be a present. And thank God there's some people like you, George, thank you, who have, loved it. And it's my baby, and thank you for that.
Was it hard to find information about Charlie?
Yes, it was. Excuse me. There's, as we know about history, period, Old West or not, there's a lot of fables. There's a lot of rumors.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know anymore what is the truth and what isn't. We do know that it's on her gravestone that she was the first woman that we know of to have voted in the United States as a man. She voted, by the way, for General Grant. And it's interesting, she died of tongue cancer from smoking too many cigars and too much chewing tobacco, too much liquor, and so did General Grant. Same thing. And, we do know that she killed the famous outlaw Sugarfoot when he robbed her stagecoach the second time. Pardon me. Well, there was all this stuff about her, and I thought, I'm going to go to Watsonville. Excuse me, I have a little allergy with all these plants here in Carmel, so if I'm coughing, please forgive me. So I went to Watsonville, and there were people whose families, great-grandparents and such, knew about her. And, she's the big heroine of Watsonville, because that's where she lives. So I interviewed a lot of people. And there was one point where her middle name is Darky, and in those days Darky was African American. That's what they used the term for. Mm-hmm. And apparently she had a relationship with a runaway slave. So I took that information and I made a love story out of all of it. And then I created it. On the book cover it says, inspired by a true story, a novel. So, then I fashioned, through my imagination and my research, what I thought her life would be. And by the way, talking about research, who would know that I would have to have a dictionary at hand, because there's so many words that they did not use then that we use now.
Right.
So I had to look up many words to just see if they were in existence. Like the word okay. You saw that in the book. Mm-hmm. I wrote about the word okay. It came out in the mid-40s, 1840s. And apparently there's somebody recently has just written a book about that one word. Imagine it. The genesis of okay. Huh. And so I chose that it was, one of the things was that it sounded like an Indian term. Indians used to make a sound that was a word that was like okay when they made a deal. And so the Americans picked it up. But anyway, that was also, I thought, oh no. Is the word like, I don't know, I was trying to think of some other words, like, could you say, you make me crazy? Would they have a term like that? Maybe that's just a modern term. But then, I don't think maybe they used that in the old days.
That's excuse me. That's something that I have never thought of. The difference between their speech then and our speech now. And when I was reading the book,
Well, inside the novel, the guy who was reading the story, you mean?
No,
who was reading the book?
When I was reading the book.
Oh, when you were reading the book.
Yes.
Sorry.
When I was reading the book, I never even gave the difference in the slang words or the words as compared to today, because I never thought of it, but I'm just assuming that you were right on. Does that make any kind of sense?
Yes. And by the way, there are, if you read, I have Charlie's, as you noticed, her obituary from the New York Times in the back of the book. And when you read it, it's actually difficult to read because it's written in that kind of Victorian phraseology. I mean, you can understand it, but you can't whip through it. Did you try to read the obituary?
Yes, yes. And
you
right.
know what I mean, don't you?
You're right. You just can't fly
over.
It's
very flowery, and it's very, they use very formal. But, of course, that was writing. The speech was not formal. Unless you were, of course, president or something like that, giving a formal speech. But, yeah, I mean, there's so many, like, they did say yeah and stuff like that. But I had to, every word I had to check out.
I read a book recently. It was written by Len Lamensdorf, and it was The Ballad of Billy Lee. And it was a nugget that was tucked away for God only knows how many years. But George Washington had a slave by the name of Billy Lee that served by his side for 30 years. He rode with him. He fought with him. He laid his papers out. He did all of his things. And this man went to Mount Vernon and dug and found out these things about Billy Lee. And then he did similar to what you did. He took the historical facts and wove the story around it. And he used the language, the spoken language, that it was back in that day. When Billy Lee would talk, it was totally different than what I would say or how I would say it. So
right, and he was black, right?
Yes.
So that was also, I had that. By the way, the writer has the choice to do that. Obviously, the black characters in my book, two of them were free slaves, but their youth was one from Mississippi, another, so the language would have been probably closer to Billy Lee. But I don't like to write in dialect because it's too hard for the reader. You almost have to transcribe it a little in your head as you're reading it.
Yeah.
And so I chose to not really make any of them. I mean, Charlie would have a little accent, all of them. I chose not to do that, but boy, you're right. I mean, I'm going to read that book. That sounds fascinating.
It is.
It's called The Ballad of
Billy Lee.
Billy Lee, and his last name was Lee.
Yes.
Right.
The Ballad of Billy Lee.
So you know where they got most of the blacks got their last name
from their owners.
From their owners, exactly.
Yeah.
Their owners. They took their owner's last name.
I wonder.
I was just going to say that's why I guess there's a lot of Jeffersons and Washingtons and still with the African American genealogy.
During the time that you had this tucked away for all those years, did you ever completely forget about it, or was it always somewhere?
No, it was always in my head, and it, I mean, not every second, but many times it would come up. I'm going to answer a question, one little question, like this is the kind of research that I did. Like, okay, how would you, if you were writing this, what would you, or if you were living it? Let's put it this way. Okay, so you're a woman, let's say, and you want to disguise yourself as a man in the Old West time. How would you cover that you didn't have a beard? Whiskers. How would you do that?
I have no idea.
Well, that's what I thought. I mean, what did she do? Well, I did some research, and, these stagecoach drivers were up there. They all had filthy faces.
True.
Because of the dirt and the grime and all of the muck on them. They were dirty all the time. And so I had this, I don't do it in the book, I don't write this, but I had this kind of fantasy that part of her getting ready for work
Mm-hmm.
would be to go out in the garden and put dirt on her face.
Uh-huh. That makes sense.
You know, and also probably covered her throat with her scarf, so couldn't see if she had an Adam's apple or not. I'm sure I was told, these are some facts I found, that she apparently had a kind of gruff voice. Well, that can also come from drinking a lot of alcohol and smoking a lot of cigars. And she wrapped her breast with a lot of women. By the way, I'd like all your listeners to know that there were a lot of women who lived their lives as men.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah. In particular, this is interesting. You might be interested in this, George. They found out, I saw this on, was it National Geographic or something like that, that they found over 400 women dead in the Civil War who had fought as men.
Really?
And nobody knew. Because, of course, you didn't have to take nobody, no doctors checked your body. I mean, you didn't go through any of that we do now.
Uh-huh.
They just, took a gun and put on men's clothes and went out and fought for many different reasons.
That's amazing.
Imagine that, the Civil War. They found all these female bodies, dead female bodies. And some of them also made it and went home and had 3 children, that kind of thing.
That's the amazing part. And that's what I meant when Charlie was when Charlie was Charlotte, she was Charlotte. But when Charlotte was Charlie, then she was Charlie. Did I say that right?
You did it right, baby. You did it. I have another theory, and that is that the lovely thing most of the time, I mean, yes, there was a lot of gossip because there was no television, but I think people kind of let people live their lives the way that they wanted to.
Uh-huh.
I think people just said, okay, maybe I think this person is a woman or this person is a man, because there were even a few men who dressed as women. I did research on that, which is very peculiar. It's mostly opposite, women dressing as men in the Old West. But, I guess people just let you alone to live your life.
When driving a stagecoach, I mean, it's not a piece of cake.
Oh my God, no.
And she was around horses, and she was learning how to handle a team and so on and so forth. So
in her youth, yes. Yeah,
so little did she know that was all leading up to when she would become one of the top whips.
I know. Isn't that amazing? And if you go to the museum in San Francisco, the Wells Fargo Museum, there's a little corner about Charlie Parkhurst. I mean, like you said, little did she know that she would, become famous and become Charlie Parkhurst. I mean, and the interesting thing, she was so good at it. Now, the thing is, you didn't have to really be strong, but you had to be, really multitasking, because she drove 6 team horses. That's 6 horses. Each horse has a rein, has the rein that you have to handle. Now, the other thing is interesting is I went off to a wild Mustang ranch in Utah, and a lady taught me about horses there, wild horses, and about how you relate to horses. And there's a thing where, you got to treat horses with respect, and they get it. And if you even thinking, I'm talking about your thoughts, not just your actions, because there's I know this is strange, but horses particularly pick up mental thoughts, vibrations. I don't mean literally what we're thinking, but our feelings towards them. And I believe that Charlie was able to handle those teams because she was so good at that. And there's a funny thing is, I read somewhere that she used to. There was this kind of rolling, calm curses she'd say to the horses, to keep them going. It was like a lullaby, only it was cursing.
Mm-hmm. Was she the only stagecoach driver that we know of, or were there other women stagecoach drivers?
There was only one more that we know of. Only everyone knew she was a woman, and she was African American. She was a black lady who drove. She wasn't for like any famous lines. I forget which line it was. Somewhere in the South, I think it was. She drove a coach, but they let her, and she was a big lady. I mean, I heard she was like 250,
mm-hmm.
close to 300 pounds. No one messed with her.
Mm.
But everyone knew she was a woman. But she had kind of short hair and stuff,
Wow.
So it's the only woman we know of. I think she probably was the only woman. Too hard a life otherwise.
I'll say.
Yeah. It's hard enough for the men.
Yeah.
I mean, they were all big alcoholics. It was tough. They all drank a lot just to handle the wind, the rain, the storm, the crazy, having to be robbed every second maybe, wild animals, the weather, broken bridges, just everything. I mean, it was, I guess it kept you on your toes every second.
How long did she work for Wells Fargo?
I don't know the exact amount, but she worked in the beginning for a lot of little companies that merged into Wells Fargo. Mm-hmm. I think this is what's interesting. I didn't put this in the book, but because it kind of it veered off my story. But she also, after she got too much sciatica, she got a lot of sciatica, she became, of all things, she was great at cutting down trees. And she cut down trees on a second, and she made a lot of money from that. And then she owned a bar and a rest stop for horses and stagecoaches and stuff.
Wow.
And she did that for a while. And so, she did a few other things that I didn't talk about. Now, if this is ever made into, I'm hoping it might be made into a movie, or at least, wouldn't it make a great HBO series, too?
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
Because the things I didn't write about, she took on people like Mark Twain. She took a lot of fascinating people on her route. And so, and it was the adolescence of America at the time. This was the backdrop of what was happening. We were growing and struggling. We were teenagers, America.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a great time. It would be a very interesting series, or it would be a very interesting movie, I think. It would be kind of a female Unforgiven, don't you think?
Yeah. Now I've seen, excuse me, and I grew up with the old cowboys and the robbers and the bad guys and the good guys never lost their hats when they was fighting and so on and so forth. And I'm still an old Western buff. I'll watch.
Yeah, I told you when I heard you. You sound like a cowboy to me.
Yeah, I'll watch the Encore Western channel all the time and things like that. But to be a woman, to be a woman and dress and take on the part of a man, that has to be an art in itself. I don't think just any woman could have done that. Do you?
No, I think you're absolutely right. Because, once in a while in schools, girls' schools,
mm-hmm.
they do plays, and you see girls playing boys, and really trying to do it, playing the male roles. Very tough to do. To carry it off, you can put on men's clothes and lower your voice, but that doesn't mean anyone will believe you.
Right.
There's something about, men have their essence is so different than women. They're, as I write about this in the book, that she actually, women are maternal. I mean, I'm being generalizing, but women are maternal and men are more aggressive. They go out. They're the hunters, the gatherers. They're like this funny thing. When I was a child, I was always told, you have to cross your legs. My grandmother used to say to me, cross your legs or the devil will go up it. I put that in the book, of course, where she kept wanting to cross her legs, Men don't cross their legs. And it's a very vulnerable, weird thing for a woman to keep her legs kind of wide open like a man does. Just that one little thing. I mean, I'm doing it right now as I sit here, and it's making me very uncomfortable.
Right. I was trying to picture what it would be like for a woman that's going to take on the part of a man to take that chaw and bite them off a hunk and start chewing on it, the tobacco.
Oh, I know.
Or
I think the first time it could be horrible, but I think it's like anything else. You probably get addicted to it.
Yeah,
which is what she did.
I wonder if those women that took on the part of a man, I wonder if they practiced in private.
Well, you see what I do with her. I mean, I have those two guys on the ship helping her a lot, teaching her. And of course, she was a very good observer. But to answer your question, I read a book of a modern woman. I forget the name of it. Oh, I'm so sorry. People could look it up if they wanted. She happened to be a gay woman who wanted to live as a man and see what that was like for a year, and to be accepted in the male society. And she had to constantly practice. She practiced and practiced with her friends and stuff. And then finally she went out into the world and did it. But you know that it gave her a nervous breakdown. In the book, she actually, at the end of the year, or two, I can't remember what it was, she actually got a nervous breakdown. It was so hard and so difficult and so secretive. And, that's the other thing, George. I mean, living out west, it's not like you could sit in front of the television set and put yourself to sleep and amuse yourself. She could have no friends, really.
Right.
I mean, she could have male friends and then be a male guy with them, but not really. She couldn't be too close to anybody, for fear. And imagine if she would drink a little bit too much, and she had to be careful with her tongue. And the last chapter in the book, I took right from a news article. One with the guys on the bar. After she's, I don't want to say what happens to her, spoil it, but that's right from a book. And that's interesting, isn't it? What those guys said about her. Yeah.
When I got to that part, I was clapping. Because it was a done deal. I mean, it was it's just awesome. The reason why I asked about a woman got to take on the part of a man and practicing, I'll tell you a little funny story. We had one son and three daughters. Well, the son is the oldest, and he was always just, leading his sisters this way and that way, and, do this, do that. I dare you to do this, and all those things. I remember the time. Now, he was in his late 20s or early 30s, and his two of the three sisters was in their 20s, mid 20s. They all had kids, and I remember on the front porch, he was a dipper, between the cheek and the gum, or between the teeth and the gum, however it goes in. I never got up the nerve to do that, but anyhow, I watched him as he talked his two sisters into taking a pinch.
Wow.
And
what happened?
Oh, I'll never forget the look on their face, because, they said, we'll do it together. So, okay, so he's egging them on, and they put that pinch in there, and it was like faces scrunched up, balled up, looked like faces was going to fall off. I mean, it was just.
Honey, what? Isn't it supposed to be disgusting?
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying, you know, for a woman to take on the part of a man and do those things, smoke a cigar, chew some tobacco, and learn how to spit, that is just, I mean, that's got to be an art.
Yeah, and you know what? I think you have to be a really good observer, too.
Yeah.
Meaning, you know, you really got to just check out a lot of things that men do and how they do it. And I'm sure she practiced in private, you know, the spitting and all of that, because remember I have the whole thing about the spitting in it.
Yeah,
she watches, you know, the guy who's so good at it on the stagecoach, and she watches him. Later she can hit anything. Remember, he could hit any kind of a flower or whatever with his spit.
It's just amazing. I know two girls that didn't know what to do. They didn't know whether to spit, swallow, fall over sideways. They just didn't know. And of course,
that's a good way to keep someone from smoking.
Yeah, and of course their brother, he just enjoyed it. I mean, it was just it was hilarious.
What a naughty boy! Oh, it's too bad somebody didn't take a picture of that. Like a video.
That's true because It was hilarious. I couldn't help.
Oh my God! I mean, that's so. I can imagine what I've never tried it. Have you tried chewing tobacco?
I tried one time. And
what was it like for you?
And that was it was like this don't even
oh my
taste
God! Is
right.
that bad? Huh?
For me, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've heard it's just disgusting. I should have tried some, but I wasn't brave enough. I was going to say maybe I'm going to have to, just for fun, take a little teeny bit and see what it's like.
Just a pinch.
Yeah, just a pinch. Oh my God! And then they were drinking liquor. By the way, that was not exactly gourmet liquor.
Right.
How do you like that? You know that recipe in there, that Indian liquor?
Yes.
Recipe?
Yes.
That's a real recipe. Did you know that? I didn't make that up.
Really?
That's a real recipe. With strychnine. They call it the Indian whiskey.
Uh-huh.
What does he say? He says something like, you have to put a little strychnine in to make. It's just a terrible thing to say. He said to make the Indians sick, because if they did get sick, they wouldn't think it was liquor.
Liquor, yeah.
Oh my God! What a time that was, huh? No wonder you didn't die of just breathing the cigar smoke around you.
And for a woman to take the part of a man like she did, it just blows me away. Now, I've known some tomboys in my day. We had some tomboys back in the day when we was growing up, and don't mess with them because they'll beat you like a man. And I'm thinking. Now, they would have made a pretty good Charlie.
Yeah.
As far as scrapping goes.
Well, yeah, but you have to be of a certain. Let me just put it this way. So she was supposed to be really attractive when she was young.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is what I do. Isn't this what you would do if you were a woman? I would gain a lot of weight, get very husky on purpose.
Yes.
So that, first of all, to maybe cover my body a little, and second of all, to make me a little more formidable, and strong, of course. And the next thing I would do is, I wouldn't bathe, because sweat, men, in those days, men and sweat were kind of synonymous. And, you just kind of, smell of cigar smoke a lot, and whiskey, and hang out at the bars a lot, and your hairs must smell terrible. Oh my God! You know what everybody must have smelled like? Now that I think about it.
Yeah, everybody stay upwind from everybody else, I guess.
Oh my God! Particularly the guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, please go to Amazon.com, Barnes and Noble. What's the other one, Karen?
for the audiobook, it's audible.com.
Audible.com, and get
And
the book.
If anybody wants to go to my website, I'm going to spell out my last name because it's mylastname.com. My last name is Kondazian.com, and I'm going to spell that.
Mm-hmm.
So my first name is Karen. It's Karen, and the last name is Kon as in Nancy, D-A-Z as in Zoo, I-A-N as in Nancy. Kondazian.
Kondazian.
Kondazian.com.
And there you can read all about it, ladies and gentlemen. But
Yeah, you can see pictures. Oh, in fact, by the way, one last thing. I was dialogue coach when I was growing up for Hervé Filiches, the little midget on Fantasy Island.
Uh-huh.
I'm the one who, and there's pictures of us
yeah, I see
on
that.
the website together. I'm the one who taught him, the plane. The plane. That's how we used to say it. Anyway, there's pictures of, all kinds of fun pictures. Listen, George, you are fabulous. You are the most fun time I've had.
Well,
I don't remember having I feel like we're having lunch or something here.
Yeah, I always tell people that when we have our guest on, it's just like we're sitting across from each other just chatting.
Oh my God, this is so much fun. I hope the listeners had as good time as we did.
We get some great response from folks, and it's just a lot of fun. Just let your hair down and be yourself.
Anybody who's listening in Carmel area or Monterey or Salinas or even San Francisco, I'm going to be doing a book signing in Carmel on the 26th at 3:00 at the River Road Bookstore in Carmel. So you come over and have some dessert and talk, and I'll meet you.
Cool.
I wish you were coming.
I wish
George.
I was coming too.
Yeah, I know. So only about 5 hours, 6 hours by plane.
By plane, yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I just had a really wonderful time. You are great.
It would take me a little longer on my camel to come cross country, but.
Oh my God! Would you be a sight coming into Carmel?
But Leonard would make it. I'm telling you, Leonard the camel, he'd make it.
Oh, you have a camel?
No, I don't. No.
Listen, I wouldn't put it past you.
I just have a vivid imagination that runs wild with me.
Oh my God, this has been wonderful. And,
Karen, I thank you. I really thank you for taking the time. We've put your website up on our news page. We put where people can bounce off and get the book and read all about you on your webpage. Ladies and gentlemen, please get the book. And for the rest of the night, I'll push this book, and I'll tell people far and wide, friends, Romans, countrymen, and anybody else that'll listen to me. I'll tell them.
You are great, and I'm going to have to hire you as my manager, my agent.
All right, I'd gladly do it.
Anyway, I want to say this to you. Is there any way that I can get a copy of this? I enjoyed it so much, so I have a memory.
Yes, ma'am. You can go to, if you can remember this, Spreaker.com. Not speaker, but Spreaker.
Spreaker, okay. Spreaker. Yes,
Spreaker.com.
Okay.
And up there in that little search box that everybody has, just type in there the George Espinlaub Show, and it'll pop right up for you.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I guess this is it, huh?
I guess. All
right, listen, I don't know you, but I'm sending you a big hug, okay?
All right, I'm sending them right back.
Thank you, George. You take care, and God bless it to everyone.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very, very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Karen Kondazian, the author of The Whip. Oh, she talks about the true story of Charlotte Charlie Parkhurst, who became a top-notch whip. Boy, I'll get my tongue all twisted up. I say that top-notch whip stagecoach driver. That's what they were known as, Whip. And she was one of the best. And so get that book, The Whip, by Karen Kondazian, Kondazian. And go to her website, kondazian.com, Kondazian. And for many of you, as you're going through her website, you will see that you no doubt recognize her and have seen her on television in different places. So do yourself a favor, go there, get the book, and I'll guarantee you, when you sit down, you won't be able to get up because it is so good.
There's a new sun rising in the middle of the night. You can feel the heat just about midnight. Close your eyes, turn off your mind. You might see some things that you could never find. There are dark forms lying all along this road. They hold secrets you may never know. Makes you wanna run, but time stands still. Time stands still beneath the midnight sun. The universe is gone beneath the midnight sun. Everything's undone beneath the midnight sun. Everything is one beneath the midnight sun. Don't worry about where you are. Don't feel alone. Just follow the path you just follow. Now feel the light. Feel the one. Basking in the glow of the midnight sun. The universe is gone beneath the midnight sun. Everything's undone beneath the midnight sun. Everything is one beneath the midnight sun. Don't worry about where you are. Don't feel alone. Just follow the path you just follow. Now feel the light. Feel the one. Basking in the glow of the midnight sun.
take you from where you are to where you wanna be. 'Cause radio works. Radio works. We'll take you from where you are to where you wanna be. 'Cause radio works. Radio works.
Yeah, it do. Listen to all of our friends down the street, around the corner, across this great nation, and around the world. Thanks for tuning in to the George Espinlove Show. We come to you Monday through Friday, every evening, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then on Saturday evening at 6:30, we bring you Unshackled, a program that is produced by Pacific Garden Mission out of Chicago, Illinois, and then again on Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. So we're on 7 days a week. We're bringing you something. I'll be back right after this, and I'll share with you who's going to be with us tomorrow night. But I want you to listen to this. My friend, Johnny Reed, R-E-A-D-E. Johnny Reed just put this up last night. Johnny Reed burning it up. Awesome. You go, Johnny Reed. Keep on burning them up and putting them up, and I'll keep on bringing them down, and we'll sound them out. How's that? Hey, listen. When's the last time? I'm really asking you something now. I'm being serious. Now, I won't be serious too long. 30 seconds, I get scared. But I'm being serious. When's the last time, that you just kicked the chair back and got up, tapped your feet, snapped your fingers, bobbed your head, and most of all, when you do those three things, think about it. Tap your feet, snap your finger, bob your head. Your booty's going to shake. When's the last time you let your hair down and you just shook your booty and you forgot about what day of the week it is, you forgot about what time it is, you forget what you had to do or what you didn't do, and you just got a groove? I'm just saying, when's the last time? Well, whether it was yesterday, this afternoon, or a long, long time ago, don't you think that now would be a great time to do it? So, come on. Kick the chair back. Get up. Move it. Don't care what somebody says or what somebody thinks or how they look at you. Just get your groove on. Holy Bryce, find your way. I want to say thank you to Karen Kondazian for being with us tonight. She authored the book called The Whip. Oh, my. Let me reach over here and get my copy of it. Inspired by a true story, The Whip, a novel. It's a story about a young lady whose name was Charlotte Charlie Parkhurst. You need to get a copy. Trust me, you need to get a copy. First of all, go to Kondazian.com, Kondazian. That's Kondazian.com. And there you can read all about Karen. You can check out the book, all the reviews, all the things that's being said about it. And I mean to tell you, go to Amazon.com. There's places that you can click on her website, Kondazian, Kondazian.com, that'll take you to where you can get the book. You can go to Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and you can go to, what was it? I wrote it down. Charlie, what'd I do with it? Find it for me, will you, bud? Okay. And they have the audio version, too. In fact, if you go to to Karen's website, you'll find out where you can get the audio version of The Whip. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen. Trust me. Listen to me. This book is one of the best books that I have ever read in my entire life. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not trying to flatter anyone. I am telling you the facts. This book is one of the best books that I have ever read in my entire life. The Whip by Karen Kondazian. Please, get you a copy of it. And I'll tell you, you'll be talking to everybody about this book. You'll want everyone to read this book. And I believe everyone should read it. The Whip by Karen Kondazian. Do yourself a favor and everyone else and get you some. Tomorrow night, we'll have a guest on, a young lady by the name of Merva. And she will be coming to us live from Australia. Tomorrow night, she'll be with us here on the George Espinlove Show, live from Australia. 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. She'll be with us. Merva. And here is just one of the songs that you'll hear.
You are lighting a million. You're bringing hope to everything you touch, and now share stories from in and out of time. From this view, I'll see in the distance only wind playing with the sky. And if you break into that part of me, I'll feel nothing, and we'll leave nothing undone. And as I become you, you become too. From this view, we'll see in the distance only wind playing with the sky. And he says, I am the sun. And you are the one.
The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.
Hey, we do want to ask you to help us with this. Thank you, Charlie. We want you to help us with this. Remember about a week ago I mentioned that we haven't seen nor heard from Liza May Swampbush? Do you remember that? Well, we still haven't heard from Liza May Swampbush. And I mean, it's down to the critical time. We are deeply concerned. So if you know where Liza Marie Swampbush is, Liza May Swampbush, that's what her name is, Liza May. I always get May and Marie mixed up. But Liza May Swampbush, if you know where she's at, please call us. 302-497-3414. 302-497-3414. Now listen, the last time we heard from her, she was in some town. She told me the name of it, and I can't remember what it was. But she was waiting for Mr. Bryan to come pick her up in his big yellow bus, bring her to the border of our world, and we were going to meet her there with the marching band and our drum corps, and the marching band and our drum corps both marches backwards. But we were going to welcome her back to the funny farm. You see, several months ago, she just up and left and didn't tell us where she's going or why or anything else. Well, Mr. Bryan arrived where she was at, but she wasn't there. And she was talking about flying back in her hot air balloon. I'm almost afraid that she did not wait for Mr. Bryan in his big yellow bus, jumped in her homemade hot, what is it? Her hot balloon, and attempted to come back into our world in that. We haven't heard anything. If you find a crash site, please notify us immediately. Liza May Swampbush is missing, and we need to hear from Liza May just as soon as possible, or from someone that knows where she is. So help us out. Help us out. And then the other problem that we have here is that we have not heard from Thelma Louise Studebaker. You know, Thelma Louise Studebaker. She's the one that has went to school, got her associate's degree, then she went back and started first grade all over again, or whatever she was telling us that night when she called in. We haven't heard from her either. So those two are missing from our world, and we'd like to know where they're at. So if you have any idea, please, 302-497-3414. In the meantime, mark it down. Tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Spreaker.com. Tune in. We will have Merva, a young lady who is a singer-songwriter from Australia. She will be with us live from Australia tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So tune in. She'll be sharing with us her life, her aspirations, her love of music, and I think we'll have a grand old time. I do want to say thank you to Karen Kondazian for being with us tonight. She took time out of her busy schedule to be with us, and she is the author of The Whip. Oh my, please go to Amazon.com. The Whip. Get that book. Please get that book. Do yourself a favor, and you will be glad that you did. I'm trying to think and talk at the same time. You know Espinlab can't do that. Not well, anyhow. I'm trying to think of what else. Tell me, Charlie. I know, I see the caboose coming. Yeah, Charlie and I got that jump down pretty good. I think it was Thursday night. We like to miss it, break our neck. But I see the caboose coming down the track. Yes, I do. So don't forget, tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Merva will be here live from Australia. So tune in. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell anyone that will listen to you to tune in tomorrow evening. We'll have some things up on the show page. Make sure you check us out. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can get me at Pop, that's POPPOPX7, PopX7. Follow us on Facebook. Where else can you get us? Tumblr, Stumbler. We're everywhere. We're like Chicken Man. Everywhere. Follow us on Twitter. At PopX7. At PopX7. I have no idea where we're going, but follow us anyhow. Would you do that? Wow. I can see that it's almost time to go. The train's coming through. The caboose is just down around the corner. And I want to thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for tuning in and hanging with me one more night here on the Funny Farm. It's been a delight. Thank you for all of your fine support. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for your emails. And if you'd like to send us an email, George C.E., that's George C.E. at Comcast.net, George C.E. at Comcast.net. We will answer you almost immediately, but it'll be most Ricky Tick. You can count on that. So, George C.E. at Comcast.net. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen. If it's nighttime where you're at, have a great night. If it's already tomorrow, have a fine, fine day. But regardless of where you are and what it is, till tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Spreaker.com. This is George Espinlab challenging you. Please stay safe. Don't take no wooden nickels. God richly bless you. I'll see you tomorrow night. Good night, everybody.